FM 93.7, 8 minutes past, 5 minutes past 8. I almost said 8 minutes past 5. So 5 minutes past 8. Good morning once again. I'm joined in the studio by Lawrence Umoite. Good morning.
Good morning, Didi.
I'm particularly excited about today. I don't know why. I'm hoping to hear very good news later on in the day. So let's see headlines across papers today. We have Punch. That's the first one we'll be looking at. Flood disaster. States intensify action as 232 die. 121,000 displaced. Just to peep into the story, says several states, including Kaduna, Nasarawa, Bauchi, and Jigawa, they've intensified campaigns to avert flood crisis. According to figures that have been obtained by Punch, NEMA on Monday said no fewer than 232 people have lost their lives, while 121,224 others have been displaced following floods that swept through parts of the country just off one day, September 30. Defamation charges. Natasha accuses federal government of double standard. The lawmaker said she's launching a very strong legal offensive against the federal government, describing the criminal defamation charges that have been filed against her as a brazen act of political prosecution and an exhibition of double standard by the federal government. If you remember, the charges against her were filed under the cyber crimes and they were brought following petitions by Akpabio and ex-Kogi State Governor Yaya Bello over remarks she allegedly made during a public address and a television interview. Anyway, you'd find more details of the story on Punch, but let's take a look at others, and then we come back to, talk about that. Olubadan, Ladoja coronation rites begin with prayers. Ladoja coronation rites begin with prayer. NBS announces 4.23% economic growth. Labour disagrees. The NBS said something. The Labour Union said it's not true. So Nigeria's GDP rose by 4.23% year-on-year in real terms in the second quarter of 2025, according to NBS. Well, just so you know, the performance is stronger than the 3.48% growth recorded in the same period for last year. I'm looking for the part where, So, senior officials of the Nigeria Labour Congress challenged the credibility of the figures, arguing that they failed to capture the worsening conditions faced by workers and households. It says if the figure is in doubt or if it does not translate into better living conditions, then it is meaningless. This is what we call growth without development. That's what an NHC official said. He spoke on, according to Punch, spoke on, what's the word when you don't want to be named? Anonymity. Yeah. Well, anyway, the NBS reported that the value of the economy stood at 100.73 trillion naira in nominal terms, and that's an improvement from the 84.48 trillion naira that it was in the second quarter of 2024. What that means is that there's been like an almost 20% increase so far. Much of the growth came from the oil sector, which rebounded on the back of higher crude imports. But as far as NLC is concerned, this should be taken with a pinch of salt. Rivers killers in police net after collecting 10.4 million naira ransom. The good news is that they've been nabbed. The police said the arrest of the suspects followed a distress call on the kidnapping of another victim somewhere in Rivers State. The command said the suspect is just a young man, aged between 20 and 25. In fact, not one person, the command said the suspects were aged between 20 and 25, and they were responsible for various abductions in Port Harcourt and in the environs. But thankfully, they've arrested 3 of them. FX reserves hit $42 billion. It's the highest in 6 years. Reps question AGF over 2.4 trillion naira disbursed to contractors. House of Reps yesterday directed the Accountant General of the Federation to furnish the legislature with a detailed breakdown of the 2.4 trillion naira that was recently disbursed by the federal government to contractors handling projects nationwide. They raised concern that the huge expenditure had not translated into visible results on the ground. So they're warning contractors against the fraudulent practice of brandishing certificates of completion for projects that only exist on paper. All right, so we've looked at some headlines on Punch now. Very quickly, Mr. Lawrence, reactions to these stories.
All right. I think we'll start with the flood story. Yesterday we spoke.
What are we doing?
Yes.
Following those updates from NIMET and all of that.
We spoke about that. And the sad thing is that when you look at, I was listening to the data, the number of people displaced, number of people killed. It's like we just changed the dates in the stories. If you pick up an event of 2012 and read it today, it will not be still. To sound as if it's happening today. And it's unfortunate. And just like we said, yes, a few state governments have been making moves, but these are marginal efforts. We've not seen a very comprehensive, drastic, well-intentioned program to say in the next 2 years, this is what we are doing as a state or as a local government. In the next 5 years, this is where we are going. And in the next 10 years, we will arrive at this point. And with the kind of situation we will have now, a stopgaps is not where you now decide to react to what is happening. Oh, this is a flood-prone area. Let's move people away from there. When the flood goes,
they come back.
It's not going to work. We need, as a nation, to be well-intentioned. It's going to cost money. I understand. In my years of reporting politics, politicians don't like to spend money on things they consider intangible.
Intangible?
That's what they consider. Yes, they would rather build a government house where people will pass and see every day than do a proper drainage system in a city. For them, that's something no, people are not going to see. But they would rather commission a market, for example, than do something that will last 10, 15 years.
But these people are the ones who have to go to the market. I mean, the people who are dying and being displaced.
As I said, I think it's something that we need to speak out. Our lawmakers need to speak out. Representatives need to speak out. Activists need to speak out. And they need to call their leaders to account. That's what we need to do. Young men, young boys and girls on social media, they need to channel their energies towards this. Call out your local government chairman. Call out your governor. Call out ministers. Call out different set of people and ask critical questions. Put them on their toes. That's the only way.
But I don't know if you've noticed that those who actually call out, those who channel their social media platforms to these type of causes, they don't get the traction. People are not listening. Why is that so? Why are more people interested in frivolity? I don't know to call it, whether is it right, frivolities, than things that actually matter?
Unfortunately, that's a story for another day. It's sad. But then we won't, because of that, just decide to just keep quiet. Yes.
I see. All right.
Then the second, which other story?
There are a lot of them. The defamation, Natasha accuses federal government of double standard. NLC said the report but from MBS is not true.
Yes, that one too. You see, sometimes I don't blame, sometimes you don't blame what we call the ordinary Nigerian, the Nigerian people, when they say, oh, you release data, and the person will be like, where is this coming from? The prices of foodstuffs are not coming down. Transportation is not coming down. Bills are not reducing. So how is this? But I know that, well, maybe as a journalist, you know that these things sometimes, maybe in the long run, would take time to filter down. But I still believe that a lot needs to be done. For example, we've heard that the prices of foodstuff have crashed. But by the time you visit the market, sometimes these are just marginal reduction. Maybe a bag of rice that was 70,000 naira is now 68,000 naira, or now 67,000 naira. And you now see that the price
And you
of
pay
food,
transport
and
to
you
go to
say,
the market.
when you say the price of food has crashed, Didi, we expect something on 70,000 to be 40,000.
Right.
That's when you say the price has crashed.
That's
but you
a
know,
crashing.
that's it. But then we know that sometimes, even though our people too have a way of trying to shortchange the system, even when
No, but that's why I mean we've had situations where the president has given like a marching order and said this must be done. So what happens?
But these things cannot be solved by marching order, Didi. When a president makes a pronouncement, what happens? It's for his lieutenants, it's for his aides, it's for his appointees to carry out that.
So how is it like it's not being carried out? What's the situation?
Well, your guess is as good as mine. If it was carried out, then we would have seen the results.
The real crashing of the dominoes.
It's frustrating because the cost of transportation between January and last month is almost the same thing that is taking place now. So where is the reduction? Those of us that apply public transport, we can speak authoritatively. Those of us that go to the market, so yes, go to the market, you will see that those of us who eat out, you know how much you bought a plate of food in January, and you know how much you're buying. It's not as if there is about 30-40% reduction in the cost and everything. But that is not to say that there are no conscious efforts to maybe work on some things. But ideally, Didi, to be very frank, it's not filtering down. That is the truth. It may happen next week, it may happen next month, but as I speak to you. And so when people are frustrated, so to speak, you don't blame them. You don't blame them, Didi.
But if it's gotten to a point where statistics are released and, from the National Bureau of Statistics that should be considered credible, and it is outrightly questioned in the open of this, so then, I mean, we should begin to get concerned. We should get really worried. So where are we going to get the statistics that we're going to believe going forward?
No, I don't think it's really about a matter of statistics. I think it's more about a matter of implementation. Sometimes, for example, if the issue is statement, okay, fuel is sold at 980 naira per liter. On paper, it's real. But you go to some filling stations and they shortchange you and they sell it at 1,000 naira. It doesn't mean that the statistics is wrong.
No, but it means that there is a breach. So if that breach, the breaching of that gap, now what are we going to do?
Exactly.
So at some point, we need to get to a point where the paper must tally with the reality.
The reality on ground. I hope we get there soon.
Headline is related. FX reserves has hit $42 billion. It's the highest in 6 years. Although NLC has not said this one is not true yet, but this is just another one of those statistics, and it's worthy of mention. Latest data from the CBN shows that reserves stood at $42.03 billion at least of September 19. That's just a few days ago. And that represents a significant rebound from earlier lows this year and provides renewed optimism for the nation's foreign exchange stability. It's a good time to be joyous. Anyway, reps question AGF over 2.4 trillion naira disbursed to contractors. You heard when I read just a snippet of that story. Bogus expenditure. They're asking for a breakdown, a detailed breakdown. What has been going out from the federal government coffers to people that are handling projects nationwide? We need to see what's going on.
I'm happy that they're asking the question now. Yesterday I was telling you that there's no need to wait for
2011 to 2017.
Yes, and that's why you have committees in the House who go on oversight. And I think this is part of what they are doing. So we need, maybe at the end of the day, we'll get the findings, we get the results, and we know what happens.
Okay, so casting our mind, but we know this is not the first time we're having this kind of situation. Now, by your experience, do we usually, does this usually bear fruits? I think that's just the way to put it.
Well, if you are looking at it generally, it may not